Hold on just a moment. Before your attention drifts elsewhere, let me pose a question that demands honesty. What brings you here at this precise instant? You're hunting for something specific, correct? Perhaps an advantage, a hidden truth, or an explanation for why certain individuals appear to possess complete command over their circumstances, while you remain in the process of understanding the landscape. I'm prepared to share something that might trigger frustration within you. Are you prepared? Your entire existence has been built upon fabrications. Society convinced you that dedication and effort guarantee rewards. They preached that patience brings prosperity. They insisted that truthfulness represents the superior path, and you accepted these narratives without question. We collectively embraced these beliefs. Yet when you observe your surroundings carefully, those achieving extraordinary success operate under completely different principles. They never subscribe to those conventional guidelines. 5 centuries ago, an observer named Niccolò Machiavelli witnessed this dynamic play out within the most merciless environment conceivable, Renaissance Italy, where political structures collapsed in mere hours, where families ascended from absolute obscurity to tremendous influence, where honorable individuals perished in poverty, while calculated tacticians established legacies spanning generations. He documented every strategic maneuver, creating the unvarnished, unfiltered manual for acquiring and maintaining influence. What I'm preparing to reveal isn't abstract philosophy or theoretical speculation, but direct observation and the recognition of recurring patterns demonstrated by the highest achievers across every historical period, every civilization, and every field of human endeavor. These 10 principles create the dividing line between individuals who actively construct their reality and those who merely respond to circumstances created by others. Once these patterns become visible to you, they cannot be reversed or forgotten. You'll begin identifying them constantly in every exchange, every hierarchical relationship, every triumph, and every defeat surrounding your daily experience. So examine your intentions carefully and ask yourself whether you genuinely desire this knowledge, because remaining unaware offers comfort and security, while awareness eliminates both. Still reading these words? Excellent. That indicates your readiness for transformation. I need you to place this declaration in the comments section below, stating clearly that you choose awareness over ignorance. Together we'll shatter the comfortable illusions. The first principle demands mastering the strategic use of absence. Pay extremely close attention, because I'm revealing the most paradoxical power technique you've likely never contemplated seriously. Make yourself unavailable. And yes, I mean this literally. Precisely when others anticipate your presence most strongly, exactly when they believe they've deciphered your patterns completely, you withdraw from visibility. Do you understand what transpires when you maintain constant availability? You transform into mere furniture, becoming ambient background noise, predictable and expected, and predictable elements possess absolutely zero influence or leverage. Machiavelli articulated this brilliantly when he stated that making yourself scarce commands respect and admiration. Consider the most recent occasion when someone kept you waiting, truly waiting with uncertainty. What occurred within your consciousness during that period? Your thoughts began spinning with questions like, where have they gone? What occupies their attention currently? Why haven't they acknowledged my message? That mental activity, that wondering and questioning, represents power flowing from your position to theirs. Now reverse this dynamic completely. When you demonstrate instant availability, maintain perpetual presence, and respond immediately without fail, you've surrendered your leverage entirely and communicated something profound without articulating a single word. Specifically, that your time holds no premium value, that you're perpetually accessible, essentially inviting others to utilize you at their convenience. But here's where this concept becomes genuinely fascinating and powerful. Strategic absence doesn't involve hiding from responsibility or avoiding commitments whatsoever. Instead, it's about generating desire and anticipation. It's about transforming your presence into something that feels like a significant event rather than a mundane routine occurrence. When you finally appear, it carries weight and meaning because nobody possessed certainty about when that moment would arrive. This principle operates on a psychological law that most individuals never comprehend or internalize properly, which states that scarcity multiplies perceived value exponentially, and this applies not merely to physical objects but equally to attention, presence, and access to your time and energy. Those who successfully control outcomes understand this principle instinctively and naturally. They're not performing or pretending to be difficult to reach. They genuinely are difficult to reach because they've intentionally structured their entire reality so that gaining access to them must be earned through demonstrated value rather than simply assumed as a given right. Before you label this approach as manipulative or deceptive, permit me to pose a counter-question. Does anyone accuse a diamond of manipulation for being rare and precious? Does anyone criticize a limited number of exclusive seats at an important table for commanding higher prices? Absolutely not. That's simply how value functions. That's basic economics. That's objective reality operating as designed. If you desire others to value you appropriately, you must behave as something valuable behaves, and valuable things aren't discovered everywhere at any moment for everyone's immediate consumption. This absolutely doesn't suggest you should become unreliable or untrustworthy in your commitments. Quite the contrary, actually. When you make a commitment, you appear fully present and engaged completely. However, you commit yourself selectively based on strategic considerations. You show up deliberately based on careful judgment. Your time becomes a precious gift rather than an assumed entitlement. Observe carefully what happens when you begin implementing this approach consistently. Watch how people's energy and attitude toward you shifts noticeably. Watch how they start attempting to secure your time and attention instead of assuming they possess unlimited access. Watch how conversations become significantly more focused and productive because participants recognize they don't have infinite access to your presence. Your absence creates empty space in their awareness, and within that space, your value grows substantially and multiplies. Within that space, people begin wondering about you, thinking about you, and the individual who makes others wonder holds all the cards and controls the dynamic completely. The second fundamental principle centers on understanding that your reputation represents your empire. Everything you've constructed can crumble instantly with a single word, one narrative, one piece of gossip that spreads more rapidly than you could possibly correct or counteract. Your reputation isn't some vague, abstract notion floating in the background. It functions as legitimate currency in every interaction. It's the invisible force that opens opportunities before you even knock on doors or slams those same doors shut before you arrive anywhere near them. The truly frightening aspect involves recognizing that other people control your reputation far more than you do yourself, unless you deliberately take back that control. Machiavelli observed wisely that titles don't bring honor to individuals, but rather individuals bring honor to their titles. What others say about you carries substantially more weight than anything you could say about yourself. Your reputation enters rooms well before your physical arrival. It whispers messages into ears you'll never hear directly. It shapes opinions and judgments you'll never change, because you'll never even know those opinions exist in the first place. So how exactly do you combat something completely invisible to direct observation? You construct it deliberately and intentionally, piece by piece, story by story, interaction by interaction, until the narrative surrounding your character becomes so powerful, so consistent, so absolutely undeniable that attacks and criticism simply bounce off it like rainwater off solid stone. This requires becoming genuinely obsessed with how you're perceived by others, not in a paranoid or neurotic manner, but in a calculated, strategic way. Every single move you make sends a signal to observers. Every decision you make writes another sentence in the ongoing story people tell about your character. Are you recognized as the individual who consistently delivers on promises? That becomes a reputation. Are you known as the person who talks ambitiously but collapses under actual pressure? That also becomes a reputation, just an entirely different one. Are you the person who can be trusted with confidential information? Who appears when situations become difficult? Who remains composed and calm when everyone else succumbs to panic? These reputations are being constructed in real time through your actions and responses. However, here's the darker reality you must accept. Someone will eventually attempt to destroy what you've carefully built, and this is absolutely guaranteed to happen. Whether motivated by jealousy, competitive advantage, or simply because they possess the capacity to do so, attacks will come. When they arrive, you don't ignore them passively. You don't take the supposedly noble high road and hope that truth eventually prevails on its own merit. Truth doesn't automatically prevail in the real world. The most compelling story prevails instead. So you respond swiftly and strategically to threats. You don't become emotional or reactive. You become effective and purposeful. You control the counter-narrative so precisely and tightly that the attack loses oxygen and dies before gaining momentum. Powerful individuals invest equal energy protecting their reputation as they invest building it initially, because they understand the stakes completely. Lose your reputation, and you lose everything that matters. Kingdoms throughout history have fallen over rumors and gossip. Fortunes have dissolved over whispers exchanged in private. Empires have crumbled because someone controlled the circulating story more effectively. Your reputation functions simultaneously as your protective armor and your offensive weapon. Treat it as though your survival depends on it, because in every meaningful way, your success absolutely does depend on it. The third principle states clearly that predictability equals death in the game of influence. Do you want to know the absolute fastest method to lose power completely? Allow others to figure you out entirely. The precise moment someone knows your next move before you make it, you've lost your advantage completely. You've become a predictable pattern, a simple formula, a solved problem that no longer presents challenges, and solved problems get controlled, manipulated, and eventually discarded without ceremony. Machiavelli stated that the lion cannot protect himself from traps, while the fox cannot defend himself from wolves. Therefore, one must become a fox to recognize traps and a lion to frighten wolves away. You're interpreting that statement incorrectly if you think he's suggesting you choose one or the other. He's actually saying, become both at different moments in unpredictable ways that nobody expects or anticipates. That's the crucial key to maintaining power. When they expect demonstrations of strength, show cunning intelligence instead. When they expect cunning manipulation, show raw strength. When they believe they finally grasped your rhythm and pattern, change the tempo entirely and completely. Keep them guessing constantly. Keep them off balance perpetually. Keep them unable to prepare effectively for your next move. This explains precisely why rigid individuals ultimately lose in competitive environments. They develop one style, one approach, one personality, and they cling to it as though consistency represents a moral virtue. "This is who I am," they announce proudly to everyone. Congratulations, you've just handed everyone a detailed instruction manual on exactly how to defeat you. Unpredictability isn't randomness or chaos. Let me clarify that distinction carefully. It's not acting erratic or crazy without purpose. It's maintaining multiple options available simultaneously. It's refusing to be boxed into one mode, one response pattern, one strategy that others can study and counter. Consider it through this framework. If someone discovers that pushing button X will always produce response Y from you, what have they gained? Complete control over you. They can farm you for that response whenever they need it. They can predict your behavior, plan around your limitations, and neutralize your effectiveness entirely. But if sometimes button X produces response Y, sometimes it produces response Z, and sometimes you don't respond at all, now you become genuinely dangerous. Now they must think twice before acting. Now they must wonder whether they're walking directly into a trap you've set. The fourth principle recognizes that timing beats strength every single time. You can possess the perfect plan, the perfect strategy, the perfect execution capability, and still lose completely if your timing is wrong. This represents the lesson that breaks most people's ambitions. They focus obsessively on what to do and forget entirely that when you do it, matters substantially more. Machiavelli observed that the wise person does immediately what the fool does eventually. But here's what he actually meant by that statement. Wisdom knows when immediately actually is. Because sometimes immediately means right this instant, sometimes it means 6 months from this moment, and sometimes it means waiting even longer. The fool acts when emotion tells them to act, not when strategy demands action. Timing is everything in the exercise of power. Let that statement sink in deeply. Everything. Act too early, and you're exposed vulnerably. You've revealed your hand before other players revealed theirs. You've spent your ammunition before the real battle begins. You become the person who peaks in rehearsal but fails in performance. Act too late, and the moment passes irretrievably. The opportunity closes permanently. Someone else claims what could have been yours. You're left explaining why you hesitated instead of celebrating why you succeeded. Powerful individuals have developed something most people never acquire throughout their entire lives, which is patience, combined with pressure. They can hold their move while everything inside them screams to act immediately. They can wait patiently while others rush frantically. They can delay gratification because they see the bigger picture unfolding across time. But they also know precisely when to strike instantly, when to move so fast that no one can react, when to compress time and create chaos that favors their position. This is the delicate dance of power, knowing when to accelerate and when to brake, when to let things simmer and when to turn up the heat, when to let silence do the work and when to speak with decisive force. The fifth principle demands recognizing that your circle determines your ceiling. Look around at this precise moment at the 5 people you spend the most time with currently. Really examine them carefully, because they're showing you your future with absolute clarity. You think you're independent and self-made. You're not. Nobody is truly independent. We're all products of proximity and environment. We absorb the standards, the thinking patterns, the limitations of the people around us like sponges absorb water naturally. Machiavelli once stated that the first method for estimating the intelligence of a ruler is to look at the individuals he has around him. Now apply that exact standard to yourself. What does your circle say about you? What level are they operating at? What are they teaching you through osmosis and constant exposure? What patterns are they normalizing in your consciousness? This isn't about judging people harshly. This is about survival and success. Because energy is contagious, ambition is contagious, excellence is contagious, but so is mediocrity. So are excuses. So is settling for less than you're capable of achieving. Every hour you spend around people who think small, you're practicing thinking small yourself. Every conversation with people who complain instead of create, you're programming yourself for complaint. Every moment with people who've given up on themselves, you're absorbing that surrender into your own psychology. You don't mean to absorb it. They don't mean to transmit it. It just happens naturally. That's how influence works at the subconscious level. Powerful individuals are ruthless about this aspect of their lives. They audit their circle constantly, not out of arrogance or superiority, but out of pure necessity. They know that proximity equals programming, and programming equals destiny. This means making hard choices that feel uncomfortable, cutting ties that feel comfortable but keep you limited, creating distance from people who love you but don't understand where you're going, saying no to invitations that once mattered but no longer serve your evolution. It sounds cold when stated this directly, but here's the truth. Loyalty to your future self matters more than loyalty to your past self. And sometimes the past self made connections that the future self needs to release. This doesn't mean you abandon everyone. It means you're intentional about influence. You surround yourself with people who challenge you, stretch you, show you what's possible. You create relationships based on trajectory, not just history. Because here's the reality. You can have the best strategy, the best skills, the best intentions. But if your circle is pulling you backward, you'll never move forward. Your circle either lifts you or limits you. There's no neutral position. Choose accordingly. Choose ruthlessly. Choose for the person you're becoming, not the person you've been. The sixth principle teaches that control through illusion represents the highest form of power. Do you want to know the darkest truth about power? Real power doesn't announce itself. It doesn't force. It doesn't command. It guides. It shapes. It creates conditions where people choose exactly what you wanted them to choose all along, and they thank you for it. Machiavelli observed that men are so simple and so much inclined to obey immediate needs that a deceiver will never lack victims for his deceptions. But let's reframe that. You're not deceiving anyone when you present options that serve your goal. You're being strategic. You're structuring choice. You're understanding that humans don't want unlimited freedom, they want guided freedom. Here's how this works in the real world. You never give someone a blank slate. Blank slates create paralysis. Instead, you give them a menu, and every item on that menu leads where you need them to go. Do you want option A or option B? Both serve you. They just feel different to them. That feeling of choice, that's the illusion. The outcome was determined before they decided, but they got to feel autonomous. This isn't manipulation if you're honest about boundaries. This is leadership. This is influence. This is understanding that people need structure disguised as freedom. Watch how powerful individuals operate. They never say directly, do this. They say, you could do this or this. What feels right to you? And both options advance their agenda. Genius. The weak try to force compliance. They create resistance through direct commands. The powerful create compliance through framed choice. No resistance, just cooperation that feels voluntary. The seventh principle reveals that strategic vulnerability is strength. Everything I've told you so far might make you think power is about walls, about armor, about never showing weakness. Wrong. That's what amateurs think. The truly powerful understand something deeper. Calculated vulnerability is the ultimate weapon. Machiavelli stated that a man who is used to acting in one way never changes, and he must come to ruin when the times in changing no longer are in harmony with his ways. Adaptability includes knowing when to lower the shield, when to show the human underneath, when to reveal something that makes you relatable, trustworthy, real. But here's the critical distinction. Strategic vulnerability isn't weakness. It's not emotional dumping. It's not neediness disguised as authenticity. It's calculated revelation that serves a purpose. You've been guarded for months. Careful, strategic. Everyone sees you as unreadable. Then, in the right moment with the right person, you share something true, something vulnerable, something that costs you to reveal. What happens? Their entire perception shifts. Finally, they think, the real person. Their guard drops. Trust forms. And in that moment of trust, you have influence you didn't have before. The eighth principle insists you speak their language, not yours. You keep trying to convince people with logic, with facts, with what makes sense to you, and you keep failing. Want to know why? Because nobody cares what matters to you. They care what matters to them. This is the gap that destroys most people's influence. They speak their language instead of learning the other person's language, and then they wonder why nothing lands. Machiavelli said that men judge generally more by the eye than by the hand, because it belongs to everybody to see you, to few to come in touch with you. People see what you show them, but they feel what benefits them. And feelings drive decisions always. So if you want someone to act, stop talking about why it matters to you. Start talking about why it matters to them. Find their pressure point, their desire, their fear, their ambition, and speak directly to that. The ninth principle establishes that information is the ultimate currency. While everyone else is chasing money, status, titles, the truly powerful are chasing something else, something invisible, something most people don't even recognize as valuable: information. Because here's the secret. Whoever knows more wins every single time, in every domain, in every situation. Knowledge isn't power. It's the foundation of all power. Machiavelli said there is no other way to guard yourself against flattery than by making men understand that telling you the truth will not offend you. He's telling you to create conditions where information flows to you, where people feel safe revealing things, where truth comes to you naturally because you've made yourself a safe container for it. The powerful are obsessed with knowing. They ask more questions than they answer. They listen more than they speak. They remember details others forget. They connect patterns others miss. The 10th and final principle commands you to finish what you start. You know what kills more ambitions than failure? Loose ends, unfinished business, half-closed doors. Situations you thought were handled but weren't. Problems you thought were solved but weren't. People you thought were dealt with but weren't. Incomplete work is a time bomb. Machiavelli stated that if an injury has to be done to a man, it should be so severe that his vengeance need not be feared. Read that again. He's not telling you to be cruel. He's telling you to be complete. If you're going to make a move, make it decisively. Don't half do anything, because half done is dangerous. The powerful are paranoid about closure. They tie every knot. They seal every crack. They eliminate every ambiguity. They make sure that when something is done, it's done. No room for reinterpretation. No space for comeback. No loose threads someone can pull. Here we arrive at the conclusion, but also at the beginning of your transformation. You've just absorbed 10 lessons that most people will never understand, not because they lack intelligence, but because they're not ready to see reality without the filter of comfortable illusions. You know what separates you from everyone who watched this and forgot it by tomorrow? Action, application, integration. These lessons mean nothing if they stay theoretical. They only become power when they become practice. And I know what you're thinking right now. Part of you feels uncomfortable. Part of you is thinking this is dark, or this is manipulative, or this isn't who I want to be. Good. That discomfort means you're actually processing this, that you're seeing something real for the first time, something that conflicts with the fairy tales you were told about how the world works. But let me be clear about something. This isn't about becoming heartless. It's about becoming aware. It's about removing the blindfold and seeing the game that's already being played, with or without you. The powerful don't succeed because they're evil. They succeed because they're awake. You can choose to ignore everything I just shared. You can go back to believing that fairness matters more than strategy. Or you can choose to see, to understand, to operate consciously instead of being operated on unconsciously. The 99% stay comfortable in illusions. The 1% get uncomfortable with truth. Which one are you going to be? The world is a chessboard. You've been a pawn thinking you were a player. Now you know the real moves. Now you can see the whole board. Now you can play the actual game. What you do with this knowledge defines everything that comes next. The choice is yours. It always has been. You just didn't know you were choosing. Now you do. Stay aware. Stay 10 steps ahead.